I'd like to welcome the witnesses. Based on the information provided, we have spoken to some of the hauliers concerned and asked them for a report on what happened and what is happening and what is their concerns and issues were. It must be pointed out that there was an inspection. We'll just go to one day last week in Cherbourg, and the 17th of the 4th, 2024. And it must be pointed out that, in fact, there was no animal welfare issues on this inspection. These hauliers feel that they are being targeted for extra inspections, following by on-the-spot fines and extra costs, as indicated by the emails. And we spoke to the hauliers. Sorry, I need to apologise for Deputy Michael Fitzmaurice as well, who is unable to come here today and ask me to raise some of these questions also. On Wednesday last, the 17th of the 4th, 2024, one of the Irish trucks were amongst 9 other Irish livestock trucks preparing to board into Irish ferries sailing from Cherbourg, France, back to Dublin. When the lorries were a few hundred metres from the boat, they were signalled by officials in yellow high-visibility jackets. The 9 Irish livestock trucks were among all the other vehicles waiting to get onto the ferry. The Irish officials seemed to know the trucks they were looking to signal out and pointed them out to the French. It later transpired that 3 officials that pointed out the trucks to the French authorities were Irish and were from the RSA. At no time did these Irish officials identify themselves, despite being asked by some of the drivers. So it kind of indicates a bit of a bully by tactics there. And it's astonishing to think that Irish officials are on the other side. And there's still no animal welfare issues here. There was on-the-spot fines handed out to the Irish hauliers, which had to be paid before the drivers were let go. These fines ranged from 1,500 up to 12,500. One had to pay 7,500 alone. Again, no animal welfare issues here. The fines were for minor offences, but they were charged for them multiple times. For example, for one single infringement, which is normally €175, they were done 18 times, for which it came to €3,150 for the haulier. This had a knock-on effect back home, as the trucks had missed their sailings back to Ireland and therefore could not be back to reload livestock to go back to Europe. There was no consideration for animal welfare here. Another thing to point out is, why did the Minister for Transport send Irish officials from the RSA out to a foreign country to penalise Irish trucks, again, no animal welfare penalties, on foreign soils? The fines had to be paid to the French government, so it cost the Irish taxpayer thousands and thousands of euros. The animal welfare guidelines do not go in line with the driving regulations, so therefore, to ensure the safety and welfare of the animals, drivers have to go over their regulated driving hours. This really only happens with cabs. Everything else can be done quite legally regards driving hours. This can be solved by experts organising another layerage for the cabs. It means a trip will take 1 day longer. However, it means the drivers can keep their driving hours right, and also means the cabs would be in a better condition when getting to the final destination, as they would be more hydrated and healthier. The chairman said earlier on that this is becoming uneconomical, and this is a very true fact as to what is happening out there. The haulier is in serious trouble. It's costing him tens of thousands of euros to come back. It's an insane situation that we see Irish officials flying over to France to dictate to Irish drivers at the French side, but it looks like some people have power above all, and it looks like that's what's happening here. But what I'm saying is, how are we going to make it fair to the haulier, fair to the animal? Because there was no animal welfare issues, I keep saying here, on this issue. So it was basically infringements with ours, that they're trying to meet the criteria are set on this side, but it's actually meaning that there's infringements probably on the other side. So again, we don't have an animal welfare issue, but we actually have a haulier issue. And it's going to make it uneconomical, and it's going to end up these haulers unable or unwilling to take these cabs abroad. So how do you think you're going to manage or work to make sure that this is streamlined? And is there a possibility that this can be solved by exporters organising another layerage for the cabs?
So I'm not aware of any. I know you said there were no welfare issues, but I'm not aware of any welfare issues in relation to the 17th of April. And I think what you may be referring to may be road safety driver rules, which would be under a different legislation than the agricultural legislation on welfare. So I'm loath to comment on that. The only comment I will add is that the new draft proposals, that there is an attempt being made in them to align journey times and, for the animals in line with driver rest periods and time. So there is an effort that's been recognised in these new draft proposals.
Yeah, just, sorry, okay, Chair, thank you. You said earlier on you're talking to everybody. So if you're talking to everybody, surely the hauliers are part of it. And if they're part of that, how is it that they're going to be put out of business? If they're put out of business, that's the end. Or is that the plan? You know, if you're talking to everybody, surely be to God, the RSA and everybody's involved in this discussion, because it's no point in saying, yeah, I know you'll say I'm only coming at it from an animal welfare, which is hugely important, and I'm not taking away from that in any way, shape or form. But what I'm saying is that live exports are hugely important to the Irish market. And if everybody isn't singing from the one hymn sheet, there's going to be a problem. And there's obviously a problem here, because the RSA has taken it upon themselves to decide they can go over to Cherbourg and dictate what's going on in another person's country, which is rather weird, but RSA seem to have incredible power when it suits them. Where that power is being driven from, I'd love to know, but that's something you can't answer me. But you're saying you're sitting down, you said earlier on that you're sitting down around the table, you've talked to everybody. It would surely be because the RSA will come into this now, this discussion, because it is part of an animal welfare, because they're saying how this can be solved is by exporters organising another layerage for the calves. It means the trip will take 1 day longer, however it means the drivers can keep their driving hours. Right, so there's obviously an hours issue for driving, which is important because it comes into, the whole thing is in relation to live exports of our calves. And I can't see any hauliers continuing if they're getting on the spot fines for, thankfully not for animal welfare issues, but maybe, we don't know, is it a half an hour over their time, an hour over their time? But there's a serious issue here. And to me, if you're saying you're sitting around the table talking to people, and then you're saying on the other hand, well, that's not our issue to talk about, I think there's something wrong here. And I plead with you to sit around with everybody. That means the haulier, it means the farm organisations, it means your side of it, which is very important too. I'm not discrediting that in any way, shape or form. But it also means the RSA. It means a whole pile of people need to be sitting around the table that I think are not sitting around the table already, because this issue wouldn't have been an issue if this was happening already, if the discussions were taking place.
Just the discussion here today is on the regulation of the European Parliament in relation to the protection of animals during transport, which I think the deputies are referring to different legislation, which I don't think we can really deal with here.
I don't expect you to answer. That was the way. I suppose you're just making a point about dialogue with the hauliers, I think, which is important.
Well, we met through Board B. We met with the exporters, and the transporters were there as part of that meeting. And we had a special meeting after the Board B meeting with them to discuss tease through various issues.
And have you met with the RSA?
No, we haven't met with the RSA.
Or would you meet with them? It's important. It's another leg in the table.
That'll come on itself now.
If I may, I mean, I suppose we're here to discuss this particular bit of legislation and how we're going to progress this through the thing. I mean, there are other issues in the context of, transport. If they want to raise issues with us, we can definitely talk to them. But I mean, like, the Department of Agriculture has no remit in relation to road safety issues.
I know, but it's all in if you heard what I had to read out earlier on, it's all in relation to the export of calves, and if it becomes uneconomical, and it's heading that way, and to me it's been steered that way, it's going to put farmers into further difficulties that they can't afford to be in at this present time. So what I'm asking for you and for others is to sit around the table, because it is all connected, one way or another it's connected. And it's all to do with animal welfare, and that's what we need to be concerned. Our main concerns need to be animal welfare, but also it needs to be economical for a haulier or whatever out there as well. So I would appreciate he would sit down with everybody, which he says he have in fairness with the exporters and the transporters. I accept that and I appreciate that, but also consider the RSA here, because somebody's got to make a bit of common sense here has got to apply, because if they're flying over to Sherbourne and applying fines of unbelievable fines, this whole business is going to collapse very soon. Then we're going to be met with a different crisis. And we're going to be sitting around the table talking differently here. So look, I appreciate you might do that, Conor. Thank you. Thanks, Chair.
Thanks.